The enemy of my enemy is my friend. What if I told you that the outcome of the war in Ukraine might depend on a country that's not even in Europe? It's true, and it's not China or the United States. It's North Korea. Yes, you heard that right, North Korea. In this video, we're going to break down how Kim Jong-un's regime is throwing its weight behind Putin's Russia and why this matters to you, me, and everyone else on the planet. By the end, you'll understand why North Korea's involvement in Ukraine is a big deal and why you should care. Did you know that North Korea and Russia's alliance goes back much further than you might think? It's true. Their relationship stretches back to the Cold War, and this history explains why North Korea is standing by Russia and Ukraine today. The roots of this partnership trace back to the formation of North Korea itself. After World War II, the Soviet Union played a pivotal role in establishing what we now know as North Korea, officially called the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. In 1948, the Soviets installed Kim Il-sung, the grandfather of today's leader, Kim Jong-un, as North Korea's first ruler. This wasn't merely a political move, it was the foundation of a lasting ideological bond between the two nations. During the Korean War from 1950 to 1953, the Soviet Union provided significant military and economic support to North Korea. They sent advisors, equipment, and even pilots to fly combat missions against United Nations forces. This support was critical in helping North Korea fight to a stalemate against the US-backed South Korean forces. After the Korean War, the relationship between North Korea and the Soviet Union only grew stronger. The USSR became North Korea's main economic partner, supplying vital aid, technical support, and a market for North Korean goods. They even helped North Korea develop its nuclear program, initially focused on peaceful uses like energy production. Diplomatic visits and cultural exchanges between the two countries were frequent, reinforcing their bond. But here's where it gets interesting. In 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed, many thought this would be the end of the North Korea-Russia connection. The new Russian Federation, led by Boris Yeltsin, was more interested in building relationships with the West than holding on to Soviet-era alliances. Economic aid to North Korea was slashed, and diplomatic ties grew distant. Yet, despite this shift, the foundation of the North Korea-Russia alliance persisted, ready to resurface in the years to come. For a time, it looked as though the old North Korea-Russia alliance was truly fading into history. North Korea became increasingly isolated on the world stage, struggling under economic hardships and growing international sanctions. Russia, meanwhile, was focused inward, tackling its own domestic issues and reshaping its foreign policy toward the West. But history has a way of circling back. In recent years, the North Korea-Russia relationship has seen a notable revival, largely driven by Vladimir Putin's ambitions. Seeking to reassert Russia's influence globally, Putin recognized strategic value in rekindling ties with North Korea, breathing new life into their long-standing alliance. In 2019, Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin held a historic summit in Vladivostok, Russia. This meeting marked a significant shift, signaling the start of a new era of cooperation between the two nations. Following this summit, diplomatic and economic ties between North Korea and Russia have steadily strengthened, with Russia even advocating for reduced international sanctions on North Korea. Today, with the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, this renewed partnership has gained even more weight. North Korea has become one of the few countries openly backing Russia's actions, a stance that echoes the mutual support the two nations shared during the Cold War. It's as if the geopolitical clock has turned back, with old alliances re-emerging in a transformed world. The ideological bond that once united the Soviet Union and North Korea seems to be taking on fresh life in the 21st century as both countries find themselves positioned against the West once more. But this renewed North Korea-Russia alliance isn't merely a nod to history. It's a strategic partnership driven by today's geopolitical realities and shared interests. This revival has tangible impacts stretching from the battlefields in Ukraine to the corridors of international diplomacy as both nations maneuver to bolster their global standing and counter Western influence. But why is North Korea choosing to support Russia now? What does Kim Jong-un hope to gain from this risky move? And how might this alliance reshape the global balance of power? Since the Korean War ended with an armistice, not a peace treaty, North Korea has remained in a state of unresolved conflict with both the US and South Korea. This adversarial posture has been a constant through generations of North Korean leadership, from Kim Il-sung to Kim Jong-un, shaping the nation's alliances and actions on the world stage. By aligning with Russia in these turbulent times, North Korea isn't just supporting a friend, it's positioning itself within a powerful coalition to counterbalance Western influence. By backing Russia in the Ukraine conflict, North Korea is taking a substantial gamble, already under severe international sanctions due to its nuclear ambitions and human rights abuses. North Korea risks even more intense isolation by siding with a globally condemned Russia. So to understand this, we need to consider North Korea's unique position on the world stage. Often labeled the Hermit Kingdom, North Korea has long endured isolation, partly by choice and partly due to international sanctions. This isolation strains the regime's economy and limits access to resources crucial for sustaining its military and nuclear programs. Aligning with Russia, then, may be North Korea's strategic answer to this struggle. In Russia, Kim Jong-un's regime finds not just a political ally, but also a potential economic lifeline. With mutual interests in countering U.S. influence, North Korea's support for Russia could open doors to military technology, energy resources, and even economic assistance that would be nearly impossible to obtain otherwise. This alignment, while risky, offers North Korea a chance to shore up its own resilience and influence in an increasingly polarized global arena. The alliance with Russia is more than a diplomatic gesture, it's a strategic necessity for North Korea. In Russia, North Korea gains a powerful backer on the global stage, one that not only wields a permanent UN Security Council seat, but also boasts considerable economic and military clout. This partnership provides a much-needed counterbalance to the US and its allies in the region, amplifying North Korea's influence. While North Korea's foreign policy might seem opaque, its goals are actually well-defined. Ensure the regime's survival, secure international recognition as a nuclear power, and, in the long term, pursue reunification on Pyongyang's terms. Supporting Russia in Ukraine aligns with these goals. It strengthens North Korea's ties with a key ally, undermines the influence of the US, and potentially earns favorable exchanges in military or economic resources. In a world where alliances often determine strategic leverage, North Korea's support for Russia is not merely ideological but a deliberate move aimed at bolstering its own standing and advancing long-term objectives in an increasingly polarized world. By aligning with Russia, North Korea gains valuable leverage on the global stage. This relationship may help Pyongyang push for relief from sanctions, secure economic support, and gain backing for its diplomatic stances. Furthermore, Russia's alliance offers North Korea a measure of security, creating a buffer against potential military threats from the US or its allies, but the benefits for North Korea extend beyond immediate advantages. This partnership could play a role in shifting the global balance of power in its favor. By supporting Russia, North Korea contributes to the weakening of U.S. influence and the rise of a multipolar world. This new world order, where influence is more dispersed among major powers, could provide North Korea with increased autonomy and a broader range of diplomatic options, aligning with its long-term goals for sovereignty and recognition. In this new order, North Korea sees an opportunity to break out of its isolation and challenge Western influence more effectively. The alliance with Russia, potentially combined with support from China, could create a powerful bloc that could stand up to the US and its allies. This could give North Korea more room to maneuver on the international stage, pursue its nuclear ambitions, and resist pressure for internal reforms. The payoff for North Korea in this strategy could be significant. If successful, it could lead to a weakening of the US-led sanctions regime, provide economic lifelines through its allies, and ultimately enhance its security and global standing. It's a high-stakes gamble, but one that Kim Jong-un seems willing to make. This alliance between North Korea and Russia isn't just tactical, it represents a strategic realignment with the potential to reshape global politics.